General Hospital spoilers keep teasing that Carly and Valentin are secretly working together. I can already see the cracks in that alliance, even before it fully breathes. They think they are clever, moving in the shadows, planning to take Brennan down. And yes, on the surface it makes sense. Brennan has been hovering around too many dangerous corners of Port Charles, always half in the light, half in the dark. Carly hates being cornered, and Valentin, well, Valentin is a fugitive with nothing left to lose. That kind of partnership feels explosive from the start. But here is where I start doubting things. Because Carly is not someone who stays on one track for long when Jason starts talking, and we all know Jason will talk to her, maybe not loudly, maybe not dramatically, but in that steady way he has. If Jason uncovers something bigger, something uglier, Carly's focus could shift in a heartbeat. I actually think that is very likely. Valentin right now is an escaped prisoner. He is targeting Brennan with the same intensity Carly has. On paper, they want the same thing, but wanting the same target does not mean wanting the same outcome. Valentin often has layers to his motives. Carly is emotional, protective, impulsive. Valentin is strategic, sometimes cold. That difference matters. Now let's talk about Cullum. He just arrived in town, and yet somehow he feels older than that, like his shadow was here before he physically stepped into Port Charles. I keep thinking about how Jason operates. He does not chase random suspicions. If he starts digging, it is because he smells something real. And I would not be surprised if Jason quietly investigates Cullum and finds crimes that happened before Cullum ever publicly showed his face. Why say that? Because some events in the past months feel too connected to be random. Fans surely remember when Michael was severely burned after Sonny's penthouse went up in flames. That was not just an accident. That was targeted, personal, devastating. And then Christina nearly lost her life in the bar incident. That moment still lingers with me because it felt chaotic but planned at the same time. And what about Sonny almost being attacked in the hospital while he was secretly receiving treatment with the help of the late Natalia? That was not coincidence either. Someone knew too much. It is easy to blame Brennan. He has the reputation, the connections, the gray morality. But I am not fully convinced Brennan is evil to that extent. Lately there have been hints of change in him. Small gestures, different expressions, hesitation in his decisions. It might be manipulation, sure, but it might also be genuine conflict. So I start looking elsewhere. Sidwell, or maybe Cullum himself, pulling strings from behind the curtain. What if Cullum is the real architect? Not the man who lights the match, but the one who hands it to someone else. What if Brennan was just carrying out orders thinking he was serving his own agenda while actually being used? Cullum targeting Sonny makes perfect sense. Sonny controls the docks, the underground operations, the flow of power in Port Charles. Remove Sonny, either by prison or by death, and the board resets. That creates opportunity. Massive opportunity. For someone patient. For someone who does not need to be visible to be powerful. And Cullum already had that strange conversation with Jocelyn at the castle. I keep replaying that scene in my head. Cullum looked like he was listening carefully. Maybe too carefully. If he already suspected that Jocelyn was lying, then that means he is steps ahead. He is not reacting. He is planning. Jason though, Jason does not scare easily. But I think he would be worried now. Not just about Sonny, but about Jocelyn too. If Cullum moves again, it could be through the people Sonny loves. That is how you hurt a man like Sonny. You do not just attack him directly. You destabilize his world. So Jason would warn Carly, and this is where everything shifts. Instead of pushing her to focus on Brennan, he could tell her to watch Cullum, be careful, slow down, think bigger. If Carly realizes she has been aiming at the wrong target, that could change everything. And what if Jason also uncovers Carly's current scheme with Valentin? Because, let's be honest, secrets do not stay hidden from Jason for long. If he learns that Carly is aligned with Valentin to take Brennan down, he might not approve. Not because he loves Brennan, but because the real threat might be someone else entirely. That would put Carly in a terrible position. Does she stay loyal to Valentin and continue the alliance? Or does she pivot? Does she betray Valentin to stop Cullum? Carly has betrayed allies before when she believed it was for the greater good, especially if it protects her family. And her family always comes first, even over strategy, even over pride. If Carly switches targets and decides Cullum is the true enemy, that could shatter Valentin's trust. And Valentin, being who he is, would not forgive that easily. He is already unstable as a fugitive. Push him too far and he could become unpredictable in a dangerous way. Meanwhile, Jason would not try to handle this alone. He knows better. He might go straight to Sonny and lay everything out. The patterns, the suspicions, the possible connection between Cullum and the past attacks. Sonny would listen. Sonny always listens when Jason speaks seriously. And that conversation could create a new secret team. Sonny, Jason, maybe even Carly, and possibly Valentin if he is brought into the loop instead of betrayed. Or maybe Valentin stays on the outside, watching, calculating his own moves. I keep thinking about how fragile alliances are in Port Charles. Everyone says they are united until fear creeps in, until ego creeps in, until someone decides they know better than everyone else. If Sidwell is also involved, then this becomes even bigger. Maybe Sidwell is acting under Cullum's influence, or maybe Sidwell is manipulating Cullum. Layers on layers. That is the kind of twist this show loves. What feels certain to me is that Brennan might not be the final villain here. He could be a pawn. A dangerous pawn, but still a piece on someone else's board. And if that is true, then Carly and Valentin are already playing the wrong game. Jason stepping in could redirect everything. He is the quiet force that shifts momentum without making a scene. And once Sonny understands the scale of the threat, he will not sit back, especially not if Jocelyn is at risk. At the end of all this, I can see a scenario where unexpected allies form, maybe even people we would never expect join Jason's side, secretly, carefully, because taking down Cullum and possibly Sidwell would require more than brute force. It would require patience, intelligence, and trust. Trust is the hardest part in this town, and right now trust feels like the most fragile currency of all. I do not think this is just about revenge anymore. It is about survival. And if Carly has to choose between Valentin and protecting her children, I already know which way she will go. The only question is how messy it becomes when she makes that choice. And if this team really forms, I do not think it will be clean or noble or anything like that. It will be messy. Sonny will want action immediately. That is who he is. He feels cornered and he strikes. Jason will say wait, gather proof, move smart, not loud. Carly will be somewhere in the middle, pretending to listen but already making her own side arrangements in her head. Valentin, if he is still included at that point, will not like taking orders from anyone, especially Sonny. I keep circling back to Cullum because something about him feels calculated in a quiet way. He does not yell. He does not posture like some cartoon villain. He just watches, and that makes him more dangerous, in my opinion. The fire at the penthouse, Michael burned so badly, that was not just business. That was psychological warfare. You hurt Sonny through his son. You make him feel powerless in his own home. That kind of cruelty feels strategic, not impulsive. Then Christina almost dying at the bar. That chaos felt like a test run. How far can we push before the family breaks? And the hospital incident, Sonny nearly attacked while vulnerable, that one really bothers me. Because whoever planned that knew about the secret treatment. That means someone had access. Someone was listening. Maybe someone close. I hate even thinking that. If Jason connects those dots back to Cullum, even indirectly, then everything shifts. Because now it is not just suspicion, it becomes a pattern. And Jason works with patterns. He will not accuse without something solid, but once he believes it, he commits. I can imagine Jason going to Sonny late at night, quiet room, no guards around. He lays it out piece by piece. Cullum arrives in town, attacks escalate. Brennan suddenly active, but maybe too visible, like a distraction. Sidwell moving in the background. It starts to look less random and more like a campaign. Sonny will not like hearing that someone has been orchestrating attacks on his children. That is where it becomes personal beyond business, and when Sonny takes something personally, it gets dangerous fast. That is why Jason might try to control the fallout, because if Sonny goes after Cullum without proof, it could backfire badly. And what about Jocelyn? That conversation at the castle keeps echoing, Cullum questioning her, listening to every word. If he already suspected she was lying, he might be setting a trap. Maybe he lets her think she fooled him. Maybe he feeds her false information to see where it goes. That would expose whoever she reports back to, which could lead straight to Carly or Jason. Carly is not stupid, but she is emotional when it comes to her kids. If she realizes Jocelyn is being targeted as part of Cullum's larger strategy, she will not sit back. This is where I think she might betray Valentin. Not because she suddenly hates him, but because priorities shift. If Valentin insists on focusing on Brennan while Jason insists Cullum is the real threat, Carly will choose the side that protects her family fastest. And that betrayal would not be clean. It might be subtle. Maybe she leaks information. Maybe she tips Jason off about Valentin's next move so Jason can intercept it. Or maybe she outright confronts Valentin and says, "We are done. I have bigger problems." That would wound Valentin deeply, especially now when he is already isolated as a fugitive. Valentin might then act independently, which could either help or completely ruin the larger plan. If he goes after Brennan alone, thinking he is still the main enemy, that could expose him. Or worse, it could trigger Cullum to accelerate his timeline. Because if Cullum sees chaos among his enemies, he will exploit it. Sidwell is another wild card. I keep thinking Sidwell might be executing part of this plan under Cullum's direction, or maybe Sidwell has his own motive against Sonny and simply aligns temporarily with Cullum. Temporary alliances in Port Charles never last, but they cause a lot of damage before they collapse. The idea of a secret team forming around Jason actually makes sense to me, not because they trust each other fully, but because they share a common threat. Sonny brings power, Jason brings strategy. Carly brings connections and unpredictability. Valentin brings intelligence and international reach. Maybe even others join quietly. Someone inside the police department, someone unexpected from the docks. I would not be surprised. But I do not think this ends without sacrifice. When you uncover someone like Cullum, someone who possibly orchestrated fires, attempted murders, hospital attacks, you are not just exposing a rival. You are declaring war. And war in this town always costs something. Jason cannot do it alone, that is clear. He might want to shoulder it himself, but this is bigger than one enforcer. It is systemic. If Cullum's goal is to take over the docks and underground operations, removing Sonny clears the path. Prison or death, either one works for Cullum. That cold calculation scares me more than open violence. And here's the part that keeps bothering me. What if Brennan truly is being manipulated? What if he thinks he is making independent moves, but Cullum nudges him, feeds him information, pushes him toward actions that serve Cullum's larger design? If that is true, then taking Brennan down would not solve anything. It would just remove a visible distraction while the real mastermind stays hidden. I can almost see a scene where Jason confronts Brennan quietly, not with anger but with questions. Brennan denying, maybe even genuinely confused about certain events. That would be the moment Jason realizes something bigger is at play. Carly would struggle with that realization, because admitting Brennan is not the main villain means admitting she miscalculated, and Carly does not like being wrong. Still, when it comes to her children, pride is secondary, always. So the alliance with Valentin hangs by a thread. One conversation with Jason could snap it, and once that thread breaks, the fallout spreads everywhere. In my opinion, the real tension is not just who did what, it is who trusts who when the truth starts unraveling. If Sonny suspects Valentin, if Valentin suspects Jason, if Carly hides information to protect Jocelyn, those fractures could be exactly what Cullum wants. But if they manage to hold it together, even imperfectly, they might actually corner Cullum, expose his role in the penthouse fire, in Christina's near death, in the hospital attack, and if Sidwell is tied in, bring him down too. I do not think this will be a clean victory. I think someone will get hurt again before it is over. That is just how these stories go. Still, there is something compelling about the idea of this unlikely team forming in secret, not out of friendship but necessity. And maybe that is the point. In a town built on betrayal, sometimes survival forces people to stand side by side, even if they are already planning their next move against each other.